able response. Oh, you wanted to read it the other way. Response able. So people, every week we do this with the sign. If people are like breaking their neck to see it on the way past, to see what it says on the other side, because they're trying to figure out what it means. Able response. I was thinking about. I got the dictionary out and I was looking at these words: responsible, able, response. To be able, to be competent, to be up to the task, whatever it is. So this is what I want to say, is that every single one of us sitting here, regardless of what we may think from time to time, we are able. We are up to the task. We are up to the task that's in front of us. Now sometimes we need to ask for help, and that's important, that we recognize that we need to ask for help and that we do so. Because, as we've said before, by us asking for help, we first of all, we get the help we need, but we're also allowing others to be able to give the service that they need to give. And so it's we work together. We're all in this together. We're going together, and when we need help, we ask for it. And then that help that we get makes us even more able to give that which we need to give. And that which we need to give is our response to the thing that's in front of us right now, to the person that's in front of us, to the situation that comes before us. They have the ability to respond correctly, to do the thing that needs to do what we talk about as being proper service, the right thing for the right reason, hopefully at the right time. And this is, we are all totally competent to do that because we have our own temporary talents and abilities that give us exactly what we need when we need it, if we are just focused on giving the service and not worried about how it's going to turn out for us. This is the difficulty. The difficulty is we get worried about it. I talk about this a lot, and I hope that I'm presenting it correctly. But each time that we have an encounter, each person that we meet, well, the Course in Miracles says about this that every encounter is a holy encounter. So we'll just start with that every encounter is a holy encounter. So that means that every person that crosses our path, that is a divine happening. And the problem is that in my small self, I don't see the holiness. I don't see the divinity. In my small self, I see threat. I see, sometimes I see nuisance. Sometimes I see, somebody is trouble. But the fact is that I have to believe that this is true, because when I apply it, it actually works, is that when I can change my mind to see that it's a holy encounter, when I can see that this person who's come in front of me is a divine messenger, then things get interesting. And the whole, my whole approach changes. So that doesn't mean, by the way, that everyone that comes in front of us, we do what they think they want, that they think that they want us to do. That means that we see that it's an opportunity to be of service, and then we want to give proper service, right? And proper service is not always going along with their particular program of the day. It's giving proper service, whether that's exactly the thing they asked for or not. So I was in San Francisco this week, and Friday night in downtown San Francisco, that's an exciting time. There's music on the streets, and well, there's always homeless people on the streets. Always. And a lot more than, I mean, really quite a few. And you know, I mean, most of you know that my practice is when people ask me for money, I give it to them. Just what I do. I just feel like if it's in my pocket, I can give it, and it doesn't bother me. I actually feel like I'm doing so. But I don't just give people money to make them go away. I don't just and when I do give people money on the street who ask me for it, I connect with them. I look at them. I actually get eye contact, and I talk to them. I ask them how they're doing. And in doing that, I see if there's some other thing that I can do besides giving them money. You'd be surprised at how many people, first of all, just are trying to ignore, trying not to see, trying to, you know, let me get away, and how many people are totally annoyed. This is one of the things that for a lot of folks, it's not even that they don't want to give the person money, it's just such an annoyance that there's so many people coming up asking for money. Get away from me. Get a job! But I try to connect, and I try to talk to them, and I can tell usually whether the person is, you know, the mental health system is not what it could be. And so there are a lot of folks on the street that really need a lot more assistance than we're giving them. And it has much less to do with money than it has to do with care. But there's a whole bunch of people on the street that are addicts. And I can pretty much tell within the first 5 seconds which one I'm talking to. And so the ones that I think, and I could be wrong sometimes, but most of the time I think I'm right on it. I don't just give them money, I give them an NA schedule. and I say, you know what, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. I ask people how are you doing? What's going on? And it's interesting, the whole attitude changes. Person is very, like, when they're asking for the money, they're like really humble about it, and they're like down, you know, poor mouthing, and then, but when I ask a question like this, I get the most interesting answers. I had this woman say, it's really cold out here. I had a guy say, well, I'm going very well, I've been sick all day, I've been, you know, I mean, now I've already given him the money now, and so now he's telling me some things that are going on. I went to a meeting just a little bit off of downtown. There's a little cafe. Guy just serves coffee and sandwiches and juice and drinks and stuff like that. A little small place, tea, and he uses the upstairs. He allows 12-step fellowships to have meetings in, and he just charges them whatever they can come up with out of the 7th tradition. But it's still a good idea for his business because everybody up there drinks coffee. So that place is full of people drinking coffee all day long, and one meeting after another is happening up there. And so we're standing outside waiting for the NA meeting to start, and a woman comes up to me, and she asks for money. And I see immediately that she's disturbed. This is that she's not, I wouldn't say that she was an addict, that she was disturbed. And so I gave her some money, and I asked her how she was doing, and we had just a few words between us, and she went away dancing. Now, you could say, well, you know, she's really unbalanced, but I'll tell you this, she was happier when she went away than she was when she came in front of me. And the guy standing next to me said, you know what, there's just too many to help. And I just nodded, but I thought there was only one in front of me. And see, this is the thing, it looks overwhelming when we look out there in the world and see the need. It looks overwhelming. But there's really only one in front of us, generally speaking. And it's not about, you know, again, what we do when we do the offering, I say that the money that we give is just a symbol. It's just a symbol of the good that comes to us. But sometimes it's needed, and sometimes it's important. But it's what we give from ourselves. See, I feel like giving the money, that's fine, but giving my attention is better. Actually seeing the person standing in front of me as a human being, seeing that this person is actually on the same journey that I'm on, that today they may be on a different path, but that we're all going the same place, and in order for me to get there, I have to, at least in my mind, see that they're going along with me. To make that connection. This is really service, because you know what? Sometimes, especially after I've walked down the street for a little while, I don't have any more money in my pocket. But this giving without fear, giving without worry, I just think is essential. And again, money is just a symbol of it. But I think for me, it was harder for me to start really giving my attention, to start really trying to connect with people, than it was to just reach in my pocket and give something. And so this is so when you're in a place where there's a lot of this going on, it can be an illuminating experience, or it can be, as I said, it can be a very annoying experience. But it's not just homeless people or people that need money that are coming in front of us every day. We have folks, we are coming into contact with people all the time, every day. And Course in Miracles says that they have a gift for us. Now think about that. I would tend in the past to think that everyone who came in front of me probably wanted something from me. They want something. Everybody wants something. But to change that mindset around to say that everyone has a gift for us, but the way we get it, and this is very interesting, the way we get it is we give the gift that we have. We give the gift that we have, and then the gift that they have just comes back. And it's not an exchange. It's almost a simultaneous kind of an event that occurs. And you know, we were talking for the last couple of weeks about my practice is, and I've had this now, when I'm on the BART, when I'm on the aircraft, when I'm in the airport, I'm trying to feel that I'm extending love, extending light, and seeing it. That's the way I want to see it. I mean, in my visualization, my symbol is that I'm seeing the light coming from me to them, to everyone in the room. And this has been very helpful to me, but I don't want to forget how important it is to recognize that everybody in the room is giving it back, even when they don't know it. Now, see, this is really a vision to hold, because otherwise it becomes just this thing where we get this idea in our mind that we're just continually giving, we're just giving and giving and giving. But what's going on is that everyone else is also giving it back to us. Now, it's important for me to say this, that in the world that we have made, in the material, in the physical world, it doesn't appear that that's what's happening. Because we've set up all of these boundaries, we've set up all of these barriers, and so we don't see it. But the truth is, this is the absolute truth, in spirit, we are all giving and receiving love from each other all the time. But we have this overlay that we have these habits that we have acquired. We have these illusions that we have generated that are telling our ego mind, our small self, that we are separate from everyone else, that we have an agenda, and that they have an agenda, and that we better watch out. And all this is just a distraction from the reality of spirit. That we are actually always in communion. So we're always in communion. And what we are doing is we are telling ourselves we're not. We are denying the fact that we are always connected to each other. That we are always, that in reality we are actually one. But we continually distract ourselves with all of the reasons, evidence we call it, that it's not true. We see people's bad behavior. We see, you know, the news gives it to us 24 hours a day. The bad behavior and all of the horrible things that are happening. And we're living in the past. We're living in a past that wasn't even true itself. But we think that that past was true, and we think it's going to continue to repeat. So here's what Hafiz says about this. He calls it being religious. He says, stop being so religious. What do sad people have in common? It seems, sad people now, it seems that they have all built a shrine to the past. And often go there and do a strange wail and worship. What is the beginning of happiness? It is to stop being so religious like that. So we have, you know, built a life based on past experiences, which we have interpreted as not being all that good. And, you know, maybe like what the British talk about the weather, they say it's cloudy with bright intervals. So we have a vision of life that we have mostly clouds and darkness, and occasionally something good will happen. And we think that the good that happens isn't often enough. And but this is the clouds. We have generated the clouds. We are walking around in a fog that we have made. And this we go back into these past experiences, and the past experiences are about being hurt, being neglected, being ignored, all of these kind of things. And so we're looking at what's going on now based on those experiences in the past and expecting more of the same. And then when we feel like we like somebody, we love someone, and we're connected with them, we are looking to them for bright intervals. And of course, these expectations, sometimes they're met, most times they're not. They're not met all the way. It's not quite as good as we wanted it to be or something. But this is, again, it's all based on these comparisons and contrasts that we've had in the past. And the thing about it is, and it was from a lesson last week in the Course in Miracles, God's will is right now. God's will is now. God's presence is now. God's presence is not last Tuesday. And it's not next Monday. God's presence is now, and God's will is now. And many times we've heard people say when they have these desires of their heart and they're waiting for them to happen, and when I say desires of the heart, what I'm talking about is those good things that we aspire to that are for the good of all. These are really the desires of the heart. The desires of the heart are to allow our fragments of divinity to come together long enough to be helpful to ourselves and others. These are the desires of the heart. And many times we go around saying, well, God's time. In God's time, these good things will happen. Not God's time, not my time. And I'm here to tell you this morning that God's time is right now. Because God is only in right now. God is not concerned about yesterday. God is not concerned about tomorrow. God is in the moment. Because what we're talking about, when we're talking about God, we are talking about this eternity. Eternity. Time is an illusion. God does not live in time. God lives in eternity, and that eternity is this present moment, right now, which we're missing most of the time because we are wrapped up in the past or we are worried about the future. So God's will is right now, and what that means is that the desires of your heart are available to you right now. They are here right now. And the only reason that they are not manifesting is because we are not accepting them. The only reason they are not manifesting is because, for whatever reason, we think we don't deserve it. We think for whatever, all sorts of myriad reasons. But God's will is right now. God's will for good, for you and for everyone else, is present right now in this moment. And so we just want to turn our attention to that fact. And so here, this brings me to really the idea of being able to respond correctly. Because when we respond correctly to a situation that's in front of us, it unfolds for the good for everyone, which is God's will. To be open and receptive to guidance and to see every single person that comes in front of us as a blessing. They have a blessing for us, we have a blessing for them, let's give it. And the blessing is this extension of love, and then seeing that they're giving it back, regardless of what they say, regardless of how they act. That we are just, for a moment, we are having this communion. And I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly, because for a moment what's happening is we are aware of the communion that is always there. And when we become aware of this and when we connect, then that opens up all of these possibilities for those desires of our heart to be fulfilled. Now, a life of self-seeking promises that we will get what we want, and when we get what we want, we will be happy. The ego keeps telling us that when this situation happens, when that happens, when we get this, when that person comes, then we'll be happy. And it's always lying. It's always lying. Because even when those things occur, they're never what we thought they were going to be. It's never quite good enough, or it goes stale right away, or it just, then there's the next thing that we have to be looking for. So, but the desires of the heart, these are the things that actually fulfill us. So we know what happens is we have this, the syndrome, the character defect of